Hi there, this is Pete Howard, Director of Concert Posters for Heritage Auctions, and presented today from the David Schwartz Concert Poster Collection, Janis Joplin with Big Brother and the Holding Company at New York City's Fillmore East in the winter of 1967-68. Boy, you know, I do love shooting these video blogs, and it's really kind of, it's crazy fun because as cool as many other posters are, I never video blog like a BG 144 Grateful Dead or a, Family Dog 41 or whatever. It's always these amazingly rare things, right? Just like so rare and scarce and coveted, it just makes this job, this aspect of my job, so much fun doing these video blogs. Anyway, the basics again, 2 shows on Friday, March 8th, 1968, opening act Tim Buckley and Albert King. So boy, this is Bill Graham's very first ever East Coast show, therefore his first ever East Coast poster, and it's known as FE1 for Fillmore East 1 in the hobby, and its AOR number is 2.99. Now, this is certainly the first time Heritage has ever had the chance to offer this concert poster. One of the reasons for my excitement, I just love that. And we had the postcard only once before. That's how little there is remaining from this show. Can you imagine that? Never the poster and only once the postcard. My goodness, wow. So yeah, notice now there's a lot of aspects about this poster that are really interesting and different that I really like. Look at the photography credit under Janis Joplin there on the poster. Hello, how about a future Beatles wife? That's right, there she is, Linda Eastman, before she married Paul McCartney. And then off to the right here vertically, you have the poster designer in more of a, cursive there, and that would be Charles Brandywine. So interesting choice that Charles made, or perhaps Bill Graham made for budgetary reasons, who knows. But, to go black and white on this, right in the heart of the psychedelic poster craze. But, I really believe it works. I think it's very charismatic. Try imagining colors on this and stuff. It's like, no, it just really works like this. Sort of like the Beatles' A Hard Day's Night movie works so well. Everybody says we wouldn't have wanted that color. Well, I certainly feel that way about this poster. So it's just really, as black and white, it really works. So, if you're not really deeply knowledgeable about psychedelic concert poster collecting, it's like, wait a minute. What is a Bill Graham poster doing so rare? I mean, in his regular series, we've had 10 BG1s, and we've had 5 FD1s, first printings. Well, how come 0 of this just rare beast? What is going on with that? Well, you can look at 2 or 3 reasons as to why this thing is so rare. I certainly like to say there was no poster collecting hobby in New York City, even in Greenwich Village, where the former Village Theater was, now the Fillmore East. There was no culture of collecting posters. That's why in San Francisco, the first few were so rare, because there was no culture yet. Well, in New York, there was no culture, and nobody really in San Francisco is going to call up a New York friend and say, hey, send me the poster. They probably just got thrown away after the show, and there was probably a low number run because, New York City is so densely packed, you could put one in a window and reach 10 times the number of people you would in a San Francisco window. So you needed more posters to advertise up in Marin and Sonoma counties and down the peninsula and down, in San Jose and everything. Whereas Manhattan, it's packed pretty tight there, so you just didn't need a lot of posters. Another stunning fact about this is a mind blower. Bill Graham never reprinted his Fillmore East posters like the West Coast ones. There's second and thirds of, all the famous posters, and certainly seconds. The Flying Eyeball and all his famous Bill Graham posters. These weren't reprinted. This was it. In other words, this was no eye toward merchandising, 100% advertising poster. It was run in low numbers and thrown away after the show. That just makes it so collectible and so hard to find. I just love that aspect of it, absolutely. So, another interesting take on this, and something I just love to, talk about in these video blogs, and the event itself, This poster signaled a major paradigm shift in Bill Graham concerts, if you will, and that would be summed up in one word: sitting. That's right, unlike the Fillmore Auditorium or the Fillmore West or the Avalon Ballroom, the Village Theater, which I should say that turned into, of course, the Fillmore East here, had seats, 2,300 seats. And so rather than tear out all the seats, Graham simply renovated the theater, of course, with a state-of-the-art sound system, added, the light show by Joshua Light Show, as you can see, and presented them as concerts as opposed to dancing shindigs. And it really helped usher in the era of music fans sitting and studying and watching the artists and then applauding between each song instead of just dancing all around the stage and everything. Obviously, both methods are wonderful, both are fine, both are great, but this was a transitional venue, the Fillmore East, into making that happen, probably with no choice. The expense of tearing up 2,300 seats, and Graham didn't know if his concerts were going to fly in New York like they had in the Bay Area, so he wasn't about to do that. So that's very important, role in that transition that the Fillmore East had. And their very first one, opening night, where nobody had any idea what was going to go on, ta-da, right there. Janis with Big Brother and the Holding Company in a really fun, horizontal, charismatic black and white poster, rarer than a hen's tooth. I just absolutely love it. Just great. So hope you appreciate it. And we have, once again, the David Schwartz concert poster collection to thank for this. Takes place on Friday, July 11th. Just remember 7-11. And to read a lot more about this poster, just go to ha.com/7420.